Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Gerald Christopher Katydid Porter.
Hi, I'm Lila Higgins. I work at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, and I'm the manager of citizen science there, but I have a degree in entomology. So I studied bugs for 4 years in college.
That's fantastic. You certainly are here for the right minute.
Yes.
Yeah, what a coincidence. How'd that work out? That's awesome.
And hopefully we'll have plenty to talk about with you in minute 56, which begins with Indy taking a look at some possible fortune cookies on the ground and ends with Indy looking at some possible human remains on the ground.
Well, I say we go right through the crucible right off the bat here. I have a question for our guest, Lila. Of all the millions of bugs in the world, which species would feel the most like fortune cookies?
Well, I think that they actually did pretty good job with the crickets and the cockroaches.
Yeah, I need a minute right now.
Yeah, really, I know. It was very casual, that reveal.
Yeah. Wait, crickets and cockroaches. Now, cockroaches I can see, but what's crickets?
So they have, insects have an exoskeleton, so it's this, instead of the endoskeleton that we have, which is on the inside of our body, insects have an exoskeleton, which is on the outside of their body, and it's a hardened shell-like covering, sort of like a lobster, but not quite so hard and shell-like. And so, yes, it's going to crunch underfoot. Admittedly, crickets are kind of more juicy, on the juicy end of insects. But the Madagascar hissing cockroaches, they've got a very hard shell covering.
They have a good... Now, wait a minute. We have to be clear. Anytime there's bugs and someone says the word juicy, Tom, you know I have to do this.
That was not a button. That was not a drop or anything. That was Jerry's face making that sound.
Oh, no.
But wait a second. You say, so the Madagascar hissing cockroach, is that actually the bug that's not the huge one that's on Indy's leg? But I noticed, and it's the first time, you'd only pick this up watching this damn movie 1 minute at a time. He has like a huge bug on his leg, and then there's like two bugs on the side of his leg, like his inner thigh.
I thought that was the kid's leg.
That's Shorty's leg.
Is that Shorty's leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Indy says, "Hang on, I've got it," like a professional entomologist would. Because I watched this minute over probably 15 times today.
Well, that's what we like to hear. Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Well, so wait a second. Now I got a question about either that fill-in shot or the editing. So do you mean to tell me that Shorty looks at his leg and says, "That's no fortune cookie"?
Yeah.
Well, no, to his credit, this time he just says, "That's no cookie." Which makes you think, why didn't he just say Lorna Doones or double stuffed Oreos in the last minute? Like, why did it have to be fortune cookies?
Well, yes. Lila, we've actually touched on some of the, I guess, racial insensitivities here.
I was hoping you might.
Yeah. They're not hard to find in this movie.
Yeah.
Although, also yesterday we had a guest from Germany on, and she was saying that in the German version of the movie, Shorty actually says he feels like he's stepping on popcorn. And I was wondering, would cockroaches feel more like popcorn than fortune cookies if you were stepping on them?
Well, so yeah, popcorn has a bit more of that squishy feel. But when I was listening to this and watching it, I was thinking that maybe it was kind of like an inside joke with the crew because they used fortune cookies to make the sound piece. But
Oh, really?
maybe I'm reading way too much into it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I'm still a little confused. So that shot of the bent knee is Shorty's leg, and he's just nonchalantly saying, "That's no cookie."
Yeah.
Oh, he's hardly
I think he's got a high
nonchalant about it.
voice.
He's freaking
Oh, yeah.
out. He's grimacing. He's freaking out a little bit.
I could have sworn, and I would challenge anybody to watch that again. The way it's shot, it looks like he's looking at Indy's knee.
You can tell by the shirt. If you look at the shirt above the knee, it's his shirt.
Maybe it's his leg, but I don't know. He's pretty nonchalant about it. When you see that, like, terrifying to the three of us, not terrifying to you, Lila.
No.
Bug on his leg. I don't know. All right, that's fine. It's Shorty.
Well, I'm actually a lot more terrified. Right before that, there's I don't know if it's a centipede or a millipede that walks over the top of all the crickets. And I had run in with a centipede in Hawaii, and I've been terrified of them ever since. And I was wondering which one this is.
So it is a centipede.
Do they all have the terrible, horrible bite, or is it only some?
So millipedes don't have a venomous bite. They sometimes release like a toxic substance that has kind of cyanide in it, but they don't have the poison jaws that the centipedes have. And they also have, centipedes have one pair of legs per body segment, and millipedes have two.
Oh, interesting.
About 15 years ago, I actually had a giant African millipede by the name of Sixtus. And he lived in a lovely terrarium, and they sort of eat, I guess, like fungi and kind of whatever would grow on cucumbers. Am I a bad person?
Was
that a bad thing to have? I mean, Sixtus, he seemed happy.
Sure.
I mean, I think the fact that you were letting your cucumbers go moldy, and that might not have been the best, millipede dad move, but but we do.
Told you.
we do feed them like plants and vegetables and little bits of. I think we also feed them mushrooms at the museum too. Yeah.
No.
Wait, can I quickly ring the a personal sad bell? That was 15 years ago, Jerry. I've never felt so old in my life. That's incredible.
That was 15 years ago that we had Sixtus.
Oh, knock my socks off. I'll be okay.
Yep.
You guys go ahead. I need a.
Well, speaking of the centipede, I have another question here for Lila. All the bugs on the floor look similar, like they're in a colony. But then there's this one lone centipede, that's sauntering through the other bug's living room. And I'm wondering, what determines whether bugs live in a colony, like what we see here, or like fire ants, or, whether a bug is a loner, like an Emily Dickinson type?
So yeah, the centipedes are definitely loners. They're crazy predators, especially these giant centipedes. I couldn't exactly tell what species of centipede this was, but I'm pretty sure it's in the Scolopendra genus. And we have some of them in Southern California and into Arizona, these giant centipedes. But they can eat small, like mice and birds, some of these giant centipedes in tropical places. So they're these amazing predators. And so you can imagine they're not going to live in a giant colony when they're like going off to try and find all these small mice and whatnot to eat. Whereas crickets, they do live in these kind of larger aggregations, and they don't really have like that same competition for food. But they're not a true social insect. There are true social insects, which are like the Hymenoptera, which are the bees, wasps, and ants.
Okay.
Oh, right.
Well, would a centipede eat a cricket?
I'm sure we feed our centipedes crickets at the museum, so yes, but I don't know if they would necessarily in the wild, if that would be their kind of preference.
Okay.
Are they indigenous to temple basements?
Or annexes.
So there are centipedes that live in caves, and kind of hang out on the bat droppings, and some species of centipedes can eat bats.
Whoa.
So
Bats?
that underground that underground cave sort of feel is on point for the centipede.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I can't believe that. I mean, eating a mouse.
Some of these giant tropical centipedes can get up to like a foot long.
Wow.
No big deal.
Wow.
This shot of all the, it's weird. I of course knew this movie much more recent. You know, I was familiar with Temple of Doom much more than the movie Creepshow, but this shot always reminds me of Creepshow. The last segment of Creepshow when all the bugs come out of the guy and all the cockroaches. I'm alone, aren't I? No one else has seen Creepshow.
No, I saw it. You made me watch it as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, probably 30 years ago.
Oh,
so that is a sad bell for
That's
me.
a sad bell. Good grief.
Well, did any of you guys notice, like, in second 13 of minute 56, you know, we finally see, they show that Indy and Shorty are indeed not stepping on fortune cookies. And the music, you know, when they have that shot of what we now know is crickets, you know, it's like this amazing, crazy, creepy, crawly critter mischief music.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to the Cobra music scene in The Well of the Souls and Raiders that has that sort of dizzy, remember, like the Cobra comes out and they play that music and it's like, whoa, like you kind of feel dizzy. And I was wondering, Lila, are there any bugs in this world that have that creepy, crawly, dizzying effect on you?
So when I was a kid, I was really scared of crane flies, which look like giant flying spiders.
Oh, God.
And a lot of people mistake them for mosquitoes here in North America.
Uh-huh.
But they would come into our house in the summertime, and they'd fly around like the light in the middle of my bedroom, and I was so scared of them. Wow. I'm not scared of them at all now, but I mean, I have some healthy respect for some of the insects that are crazy, have crazy stingers and whatnot. But also, let's be clear, centipedes are not insects.
We knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, good, just checking.
Duh. Well, wait a minute. Now it begs the question. So, okay, please enlighten me. What are centipedes?
Centipedes and millipedes are in the group Myriapoda, Myria meaning many and poda meaning feet.
Was that just coincidental?
I mean, well, humans made the classification, so
sure.
I don't know if they care, the millipede and centipedes. Maybe they do. Maybe they're really happy to be closely related on the tree of life.
That's beautiful.
That's happy moment, not sad moment.
Right. We don't have any bells for happiness though, so it's just gonna go unnoticed. Indy's got this match, like, you know, when he's checking everything out and they see all the bugs, and it burns his fingers. He goes, "Ow, go!" And like, he's a very dad moment because he just burned himself, but he's totally making it sound like Shorty just did something wrong and he's not listening or something. He's like, "Ow, I just go over there, Shorty. What are you doing? Why'd you make me burn myself?" Where the two things had nothing to do with each other, but he makes it sound like they did.
But he's actually Harrison Ford, as we've said. I mean, he's incredible throughout this movie. We're already up to what, 56, 57. Yeah, he's amazing, and he's great in these minutes too. You know, as kind of being a dad, and then a little bit later on, he gets kind of flustered with Shorty, but it's still really dad-like. You know what I mean? He's kind of like he's not mad at him. You know what I mean?
Right. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, anyway.
I'm just laughing because as I was rewatching the minutes that came up to them being in the tunnel, where he's wearing his glasses, and there's this moment with him and Willie, and he's looking very sexy as a scientist, and he's like, "I'm a scientist," and I was like, man, I need to find one of those guys right now.
You know what? That's awesome that you brought that up, because we had a very specific question about that, and now we know we know what side of the fence you're on. So you're like, so as a scientist, you know, Lila, as a scientist, does anything shock you?
Like anything in the entire world?
Yes, it's open to interpretation. I think that's how Indy. I mean, that's certainly how Indy says it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a scientist. Nothing shocks me.
Oh, wow. My mind has gone to many places just now. So yes, there are some things that shock me in the world.
Aha!
I agree that scientists get shocked. I still have to say it's the coolest line in the movie. And it sounds like Lila might agree with me.
I mean,
Even though she's been shocked as a scientist.
yeah. I mean, oh, now I want to get all deep and think about what he really meant about that.
Well, please.
Shocking, versus yes, I can see that as a kind of an outsider looking in and how people react and culture makes us act in certain ways and the taboos that are a part of our society. And so I can see that he kind of maybe is thinking about being kind of like the outsider perspective and like, yeah, it's not shocking. That's a human reaction to X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think about the chemistry between Indy and Willie in this movie?
I couldn't get over her hair. It was just, I'm like, oh wow, this is so 80s. And
Amen.
yeah, so that was hard for me to get over. I didn't like the way they portrayed her as kind of like, I can't put my hands in the bugs. I mean, she did it, but maybe I'm skipping ahead now to another minute that we shouldn't be talking about yet.
That's all right.
It's not how I'd interact with a hot scientist in my bedroom.
Were you like, oh my God, I'd love to put my hand in that
More bugs.
alcove? Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Is that?
Well, the slime that's in that alcove, I was like, oh, I want to touch that. I mean, it's obviously like slime made in a kind of, kitchen or lab or whatever. But
what bugs are actually in there? I mean, now that we have you here on the hot seat for this minute, I know it's a further minute, but just in case, we need to know.
There are more Madagascar hissing cockroaches in there. There are 2 different species of walking sticks in the movie that I've seen so far, and if I remember correctly, I think that there were walking sticks in that alcove, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and I think there were also some grasshoppers.
I know the Madagascar hissing cockroach kind of gets, like he seems to get sort of all the the bang for your buck.
Yeah.
When you're filming big gross, you need big gross
They're not
crazy
gross.
bugs. No, I don't mean gross. Of course not. Big beautiful.
Take that back.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
big beautiful royal looking bugs. The Madagascar hissing cockroach seems to do it every time.
Yeah, and people often, when they think about cockroach, one of the first things that come to mind is that, ooh, they're dirty. But I always try to talk to kids and people at the museum how they're not dirty. And one day I was doing a little program with some campers from our Adventures in Nature, and I was like, they're not dirty. They're like, yes they are. I'm like, no they're not. And I like literally licked the cockroach in front of the kids, and I'm like, see, they're not dirty. I wouldn't do that if they were dirty.
That's
I feel like that's one of my proudest moments of life.
my son and I ate I think it was crickets. We ate like fried crickets once, and we were very proud of ourselves.
Yeah, roasted crickets probably.
Yeah.
They're actually really good.
Well, that's a sort of a specialty in Mexican cuisine, is it not?
Yeah.
Grasshoppers.
And at the
Yeah.
Notabart Nature Museum in Chicago.
There you go.
It's a specialty there too.
Well, yeah, do you guys think that the palace chef upstairs knows about this appetizer gold mine below?
Obviously
It's
not.
probably
They
his.
didn't serve it. They did not serve. They did not serve crickets at the dinner.
Why? One thing I couldn't figure out: why are all the bugs contained only in this tunnel?
Well, they know that other room is dangerous. It's got spikes and stuff.
Yeah, because that rolly stone door was open when they went in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Rolling Stone door is open when they go in.
And the second they walk across the threshold, there's no bug at all.
There's
That
no
would-
bugs
That's
at
not
all.
reality.
Right.
As opposed to most of the movie.
Yeah, right. I'm flummoxed.
Well, you wonder. You're like, what are they all eating in there?
Each other.
Okay, well that's creepy.
We talked a lot about this like the purpose of this entire passage, and like and you know, we sort of teased that there were these rooms up ahead, like this crazy room and stuff, and it's all booby trapped. And you know, Shorty steps on this one small, like smaller than his foot space that triggers everything, or at least triggers the doors to close. And that doesn't seem like the best. If this place was there as like a security system against anybody who wasn't supposed to be going down there, who like wasn't like part of the cult or something, that seems like you could easily bypass that even by accident. Like Indy just did, actually. Indy walks right by it and doesn't trigger.
Yeah, is this to trap somebody, or is because some of it, like the spikes, you have to set off from outside the room, and the other two things are things you could avoid, and then once you set them off, you could still run out of the door before it closes.
The spikes get activated.
They get activated from outside the room.
Well, no, they get activated from inside because Shorty leans back.
No. That's not the spikes. That's the ceiling.
Get out of here! Really?
Oh
The
my
ceiling
gosh.
comes down. Yeah, I mean, did you guys watch these? No, I'm just kidding. No, the ceiling comes down, and then in a minute or two after that, Willie leans, like when she gets scared by the googly-eyed guys, she leans against the wall, and then the spikes start coming out.
Are you sure she triggers that?
No way.
First of all,
Absolutely
everyone
positive.
is yelling at us because we're getting ahead, but
Let's not.
we stumbled onto this, and Jerry and I are flummoxed at least. That's we'll pay attention to that.
We can
comes
fight
out.
that
That's
out next time. Yeah, but this booby trap thing, I'm still kind of intrigued because when Shorty steps on the button, it makes kind of a bow and arrow sound, and I was trying to figure out like, is this another one of those crazy like Rube Goldberg contraptions like they had in the Chachapoyan Temple? Because we see thuggies later with bows and arrows, and so I wonder, like the button, you press the button and it shoots a bow and arrow, and it scares a chicken, and the chicken lays an egg, and Indy catches the egg, and like it's this whole thing that ends up with the door closing.
Yeah. I buy it.
Sure. Well, there was something that I've never noticed before. In second 40 of this minute, Short Round is wielding a dagger.
Yeah.
I saw that every single time I watched this, and I never even thought about it. But that's really weird.
Like, did he pull that out like when he saw the walking stick?
Well, more importantly than that, did he take it off of the dead guy in his room? Like, where else is that part of their
weird.
stuff, or did he loot the body before he came over to join Indy?
I can't remember if my Short Round action figure came with a dagger or not. And if they said it
Wow,
was
but
his.
that's a good point. But if he took it off the assassin in the room, I mean, the assassin choked Indy. He, garroted him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like, why didn't he just use the dagger?
Although you do see, like, later in the movie, lots of guys pull out daggers after a fight or later.
That's
true.
true.
What
It's
if he
like
got
part of
it from the two skeletons that came
Yeah,
out when
that's
he
possible
opened the
too.
door?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
thought about that, but if you look right, that they show it kind of shining at like second 48 or something 45. But when the round boulder closes, he actually has it in his hand.
No, he has it in his hand when they even walk in. I'm just watching it now. He's got it drawn when they walk in there.
So when did he pull it out? Like when the Mo and Joe Googly Eye fell down, the Happy Twins,
I don't
the
think you've
Happy
seen it.
Corpse
Maybe.
Twins.
I kind of want that to be his. I just want that to be like his part of his gear that we just haven't seen before.
Yeah, that comes with the action figure.
I mean, he never
Yeah.
uses it.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Well, it's like Boba Fett's rocket.
Exactly. In the prequel, we'll use it, and you'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, careful what you wish for.
But we're also faced with the same situation we were in Raiders, is that Indy's going for a quote unquote treasure, but if he were to just stop and examine the mechanics of this room and write that up, he would have far more fortune and glory than I think he ever would from the Sankara stones.
Yeah,
Because this is a technological marvel.
right.
Well, when do you think that room was built? When do you think that booby trap was built?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the same time as the palace?
Well, I was curious how long it would take a body to decompose that much. I was kind of trying to find it out on the internet. And it apparently, some places were saying the body can decompose that quickly in 4 or 5 years. Given the right circumstances.
But what if you add crickets?
Yeah, so maybe fat. So the room could either be it could be as new as just a couple years old, or it could be 200 years old.
Yeah, they need domestic beetles, which are the ones that they use to clean off bones in museums.
Now, there you
Maybe
go.
they're domesticated down. They're very tiny. They're very small.
So those guys died last Sunday.
Yeah.
But wait, where did the cobwebs come from? That's a whole
That's a
nother
good point. Yeah.
spider theme that we could go into.
That's
So
true.
really, this would be an ideal moment for Indy to do some actual archeology, like and try to figure some of these questions out.
And be a
Yes.
hot scientist, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have another callback to that, like the Chachapoyan Temple in Raiders, or the beginning of Raiders, is when these doors start to close, we get kind of the same musical cue. You kind of get that bump, 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 bump.
Yeah.
That
that's
happens when Indy
exactly.
whips the gun out of Barranca's hand.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, there was something that I was a little confused at here. Does Indy choose not to escape because he doesn't want to abandon Short Round? Like, could he have gotten out the door? And if you
Yes.
watch it, okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean,
Yeah, like
the
he
way-
goes and then he turns around and looks at him and then he gets really frustrated and goes, ah,
Yeah.
and then he stops.
Well, yeah, he goes to, he looks like he's going to duck under, and he kind of looks back and reaches for Shorty for a second, or kind of gestures to him. He's like, we're not both going to make it, forget it. So, yeah, I think it is sort of like, I'm not going to leave the kid in here. Although, even though, like, not to jump ahead again, but, like, he knows that there's ways to open the doors, apparently.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, see,
So-
that's what I was confused at. Had he escaped, he could have just gone over, put his hand in a couple of grasshoppers and hissing cockroaches, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Do they have them on the other side? We don't know that.
Oh, that's true. We only know they're on Willie's side.
That's an excellent point. But you think I mean, what would be the better choice there? If both of you are trapped, and then that way you can,
Right.
like, you can eulogize each other?
Yeah.
Although Indy's already taken some flack for abandoning another child, so that might be fresh in his mind. And he might be.
I'm not supposed to leave kids behind.
You can't leave a kid behind. You can't leave a kid behind.
Yeah. All right. But then now he has to call upon Willie.
Yeah.
Keep her in the movie.
When the door finally comes to, it kind of slams shut, and you like especially if you're listening with headphones, you get this really great kind of bass like that kind of reverberates.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds a lot like the shield doors closing on Echo Bass on Han. And I was just thinking, like, once
Yeah.
again, Han's on the wrong side of the door.
Typical.
On that note, anybody have anything else about?
Oh,
minute
wait.
56?
This just in from Professor
Oh.
Christy Porter.
Putting on my headphones. Getting my stenographer stuff.
Asian people have other references for crunching sounds than fortune cookies. Oh, there you
Nope,
go.
I don't see it.
Yes, I actually when I read that coming through the wire, I thought, oh boy, Tommy's gonna like this.
Well, as we've determined, fortune cookies are actually American, so maybe
Yep,
we get a clue
Yeah.
into Shorty's past.
and he does speak English.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty
Alright.
shouty.
There's a lot of that in this movie.
He's shouty English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, great. And, Lila, thank you for joining us for minute 56. And is there someplace else people could find you online, or any place if people would be interested in some of the work you do?
People can find me on Instagram. My handle is Coleoptera, which is basically the word for beetle, Coleoptera, with my name Lila in the middle. Super geeky. So yeah, and there weren't that many beetles in the scene, but there was the Harlequin Beetle on the foot action.
Oh, I
cool.
wondered what was the big bug on Indy's foot, and that's a Harlequin beetle. Where is that indigenous to?
That it's a giant Harlequin Beetle from they have a big range. It goes from like southern Mexico to Brazil, and they're in this group called the Cerambycids, so the longhorn beetles, and they have these giant antennae that kind of curl out and around.
No, so he's probably there specifically just for the temple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pilgrimage.
Maybe a pilgrimage or something.
Right.
And Tom, if somebody wants to make a pilgrimage and come find out more about Indiana Jones Minute, where might they do that?
Oh, they could do that on Facebook at our group, the Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade, where the conversation is nonstop. and you and all your Indiana Jones Minute friends can hang out there and chat us up.
Yes, and hopefully we'll have lots of bug talk this week.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And yeah, you can join us back here tomorrow after you do that for minute 57 here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Jones.